Previously on
the 103 Simpsons podcast.
Go ahead.
Today we're talking about the Scorpion's Tail.
I struggled trying to watch this episode without being bored and looking at my phone.
And remorse.
If you ruin the Johnson account, we'll all go to jail.
Steve, I'm pregnant with your semen.
Come on.
Is this the worst one that we've
Oh,
watched?
yeah, definitely. Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
So I don't even know what to say about this episode, so I'm just going to talk about the band The Scorpions.
Rock you like a hurricane.
What are we doing with our lives? There should have been a Perfect Strangers podcast.
Erection?
From that day on, we were no longer annoyed grunt boys. We were annoyed grunt men.
Everything everyone just said is either obvious or wrong.
Maybe next week, the episode after this episode aired will be better.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of Colonel Dracula joins the Navy.
Cheech and Chong have lost its Chong. I am the Chong now. Take a little look. Take a little look. Take a little look at me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 130 Simpsons podcast presented by the Annoyed Grunt Boys. That's us, the Annoyed Grunt Boys. It's the Simpsons podcast where we talk about the Simpsons episodes from seasons 11 and beyond. I'm half annoyed Grunt Boy Craig, and with me, as always,
Your other annoyed grunt boy, Steve.
Steve, thank you for joining me this week. I guess you join me every week.
Well, and thank you for having me every week.
We're thankful for each other.
And we're thankful for you, fellow listener, for tuning in.
Thank you. If this is the first time ever, well, welcome. And the reason you're starting on this episode is because this is your favorite episode, apparently.
Yeah, you damn stoner.
You're a big Cheech and Chong fan, and, well, I guess we are too.
Yeah, sure, why not?
This is also an episode, we've never done this before, where the previous episode, if you haven't listened to, this is almost a two-parter because this is the episode back-to-back.
That's right.
We lost faith last week. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it again. The reason why is this podcast, Quantum Leaps, as I like to say, through seasons 11 and beyond. But this is the first time we've done a back-to-back episode. We usually have a wheel of random that makes us watch whatever Simpsons episode. But this one, we vetoed that wheel of random, and we had to see if the Simpsons would get back to its funny days.
That's right. So does this episode live up? Keep listening and you'll find out.
Because right now we do our usual 10 minutes of rant that has nothing to do with The Simpsons. So you got to listen to that first.
Suckers.
But we do like to put you in the mindset of the year of 2011 and the March 13th. We'll bring up historical events and things like that. But usually we like to talk about
what's going on in our lives.
Exactly, Steve. So do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? Usually we ask.
Yeah, please go right ahead.
Oh, Steve, how have I been doing?
Yes, Craig, how have you been doing?
I'm fine. I discovered a new physical pain from laziness.
Ooh.
And that's the only thing I could think of what happened. So I wake up Sunday morning and my entire body, lower body, legs and
butt,
all sore. It's like I've been doing yoga for 24 hours. I started doing physical activity and working out, which I seldomly kind of do. I just started back on my bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
But this is before that. And I woke up Sunday morning. I could not get up. I was in pain. I'd worked out for 10 hours. That's what it felt like.
Ooh.
And even getting out of my car, I was like an old man, 800 years old, trying to get in and out. I needed a cane, essentially.
Wow.
Right? It was that sore. So go back to Saturday night. Friday, I was fine. Saturday, wake up. So it had to happen Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do Saturday? Well, here's what I did. I fixed a couple things around the house, did some laundry. I was at home all day.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing strenuous. I didn't move furniture. I didn't go for a walk or a run or any exercise. And I took an edible.
Okay.
At 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You're 2 hours and 20 minutes early, man.
Maybe a little earlier, right. I took it at 11:20, actually.
You were all right in New York, man.
And so my goal was to watch Avengers Infinity War and Endgame back to back. So that's 6 hours worth of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I did my chores, and then at 2 o'clock, or I don't know what the time frame was, but because I took the edible, right?
Right.
Long story short, I'm doing it right now where I record this podcast from my couch, and I got my coffee table and the TV in front of me. It's a couch. It's not a recliner couch. It's a mid-century couch, and I sit up. My torso's upright, and then I put my legs on the coffee table.
Oh.
So I sit there like a recliner, right?
Right.
But it's not soft. It's a coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sit there, watch the movies, and then after I finish the Avengers movies, I get so inspired, I'm like, one more time, and I sit up and with my legs on the coffee table, but I fall asleep. And then by like 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up. I'm like, oh, I should go to bed.
Yeah.
So long story short, like I said, for the second time, I think the reason why I'm so sore is because my legs were straight and stretching out, and my body, my upper torso was stretched out straight too. So in a sense, I was doing like a yoga thing.
Right.
So I was stretching out the entire time I passed out sleeping. My theory is I have a couch-related injury. Do you see what I'm getting with this?
Yeah.
I wake up and so like my butt and like everything where like my legs hurt because the entire time I was just stretching while I was passed out.
So you were exercising while you were sleeping, which is very, very economical of your time, but it also illustrates the joys of getting older.
I was instead of a downward dog, I was a lazy dog. I think that's where my aches and pains for like the past couple days.
Ooh.
I couldn't do anything. Today I was able to actually get on the bike again and like pedal.
Well, I hope you're on the mend.
Yeah, I do enjoy those Marvel movies. So how about you, Steve?
Well, speaking of Marvel, I finally got my volume 2 of The Essential Spider-Man.
Is this when Gwen Stacy gets killed?
Nope, it's not there yet.
Oh, spoilers. Sorry.
Gwen Stacy has not even been introduced. In fact, they're just now talking about Mary Jane, but we actually haven't seen her yet.
Oh, you hit the jackpot, Tiger. That's what she says when spoilers. Sorry.
Well, I wanted to delve deeper into the Marvel universe and study more Spider-Man, and so I started a few comics, and I just wanted to hear your thoughts, Craig, on these.
The few comics you delved into, Yakov Smirnoff, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
In Russia, man bites spider.
In Mother Russia, Colossus is Xavier. Because Colossus is Russian.
Yeah, he's Russian. How about...
If he drinks too much water, he's a European. So I started reading the Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Oh, so the Brian Michael Bendis run?
Yep. But another thing that I wanted to do was move beyond Spider-Man. And there's a character that I've always been curious about, and that is Squirrel Girl, which seems to be something that'd be up my league, kind of funny and kind of different. But I didn't know where to start. And so I did a appearance, and then I went reverse. And then I started reading The Great Lake Adventures, and I really enjoy it so far. I'm about 2 issues in, and I think it's really cool.
Is The Great Lake Adventures, because I'm a DC fan, really, and the Marvel, I kind of know, like, have my toes in it. It's like the Great Lake Avengers. Is that what that is, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of like almost like the D-list of Marvel characters.
Yes, so
right?
Main character is named Mr. Incredible, and basically his whole power is that he can't die, but this death guy comes and visits him and takes people away from his life. And it's like this masked character that comes and just takes away like his parents and then his girlfriend. And it's kind of like a dark story. So he tries to kill himself, but he can't because he's incapable of killing himself.
So which volume is
this? Is the beginning of the Great Lakes Adventures.
That sounds actually really interesting. I would definitely read that because there was a book back in the early 2000s written by Peter Milligan and drawn by Mike Allred. Ecstatic. I don't know if I got you into this. I told you about this.
I do. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I did read this.
Okay, so Ecstatic was the mutants, like X-Men mutants, but they were all controlled by like if you guys ever seen The Boys, that's just currently on Amazon right now, it's kind of in that same vein where they're as if the X-Men were exploited like reality TV stars. Ecstatic was like that. I recommend that book for you. Also, going back to the 80s and 90s, which I know you've read this, but Justice League International is a DC book. That was just, to me, is like one of the best comic book series of all time. I mean, the only really familiar characters, like if people were into comic books, was like Batman is in it. But you read that, right?
Yeah, I did. But yeah, the GLA is a lot of fun. And the reason I started it is that Squirrel Girl actually introduces the issue and basically gives like a parental warning, like don't kill yourself, kids. But basically, I'm just going to read through until she becomes a part of it. And this is, I guess, a 4-part series, but I think it'll dive more into her storyline. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of getting into comic books now.
Squirrel Girl is, once they make a movie or TV show based off her, she's going to be like the new Harley Quinn. Everyone's going to want to cosplay as Squirrel Girl, which they're already doing. And I thought there was something that was supposed to be that AT&T girl was supposed to be Squirrel Girl. Like they cast her, like eventually it's going to happen. I haven't read anything much about Squirrel Girl. You'd get into I feel like the Deadpool.
Yeah.
If you want a really good, because you're not really a sci-fi guy, but I feel like you would like this a lot, is Saga. I don't know if I've told you about that before. We talked about it.
I think so.
Is read Saga. Brian K. Vaughan, I think, writes that. It's just bonkers and out there. It's good. Steve, there's so many good comic books to read. We just don't have the time, do we?
So tough.
All right. Well, one of these days we're going to get you down and we're going to watch the Marvel movies and we're going to make a podcast about it.
Speaking of movies.
That's a great idea. Steve, I have a little correction to make.
Okay.
So I was editing the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let's start further back here. I was looking up the box office for this week of the episode Midsummer's Night's Dream, and it aired March 13th, 2011. We'll get to that in a second. And I looked at the top 5 when we talked about the last episode where we vetoed The Wheel and the movies were all going to be the same. And I look and I'm like, this is literally the same. But then I look again and I made a mistake, Steve.
Uh-oh.
And the movies I gave last week for Voldemort episode, which we're going to refer to now, the Scorpion stuff. Oh, sorry, said it.
Don't say it.
We hate that episode so much, we're going to call it the Voldemort episode because it's the episode that should not be named. We can name Voldemort.
We're not wizards.
We're not wizards, right? We're muggles. Yeah. And I had put it in the wrong week, and I put it in the week that this episode, Midsummer's Night's Dream, aired.
Oh.
So last week I read that top 5 movies were number 5 was Marge Needs Moms, 4 was Adjustment Bureau, 3 was Red Riding Hood, 2 was Rango, and number 1 was Battle Los Angeles. So that was actually those movies for this week.
Oh,
but
okay.
To course correct.
To make things right.
To make things right, last week during the Voldemort episode, your number 5 movie was Romeo and Juliet.
Oh.
Which was like with a gnome and Juliet.
Yeah.
Number 4 was Hall Pass, which was about you're married and you get to fuck whoever you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see Hall Pass?
No, but I was listening to a podcast like this week where they were talking about Hall Pass and how they should have called it Cheat Day.
There you go. Cheat Day, right. Number 3 was Beastly, which was, I think, the last, one of the Olsen twins was in the movie. Not the Elizabeth Olsen, but the...
Mary-Kate or Ashley?
Mary-Kate, yeah. Which was the Beauty and the Beast story.
Huh.
Number 2 was Adjustment Bureau, and then number 1 was Rango. So that was the movies from the last episode. There you go. I put them in there, Steve.
All is right with the world again.
The only reason why I had to bring this up was, did I mention before I had to go back and edit where I talked about Battle Los Angeles?
Right,
multiple times last episode. I just didn't want to edit them out. I could have easily just said, like, and here's your 5 movies, but I referenced Battle Los Angeles as being something I'd rather watch than the Voldemort episode, as we call it.
I'm sure a number of people were very upset by your error and the Voldemort episode in general, but we've fixed it, and now we can move forward. Everything's okay. Yeah, it's fine. We all make mistakes.
But I feel like the music was actually different.
Slightly, but there are some returning artists. So number 5 was S&M by Rihanna featuring Britney Spears. Number 4 was Fucking Perfect by P !NK. Probably use that exclamation point in the title with all the swears. Number 3 was Grenade by Thank You by Mr. Bruno Mars.
Steve, have I used that joke before?
Maybe once, perhaps twice. Speaking of twice, at number 2, Fuck You by CeeLo Green. I'm sorry, Forget You Too. I can't help it. Baby, I Was Born This Way. Number 1 by Lady Gaga.
Oh, you're right. We actually played this last week.
Yep, there's like 3 of the same songs, but that's okay.
Because you were born this way.
Precisely.
Let's just do a little recap. We put on the top of this episode a little last week on episode, which we never thought we would actually do on this podcast because that's more like a TV thing. And well, this is a TV podcast, but we never thought we'd have such disdain or hatred towards an episode. And suffice to say that we wanted to see if this week's episode from last week in real time or I don't know, Real Time with Bill Maher now. Real Time with Simpsons. Steve, what are we watching this week? This is the episode after the Voldemort episode. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
After a Scorpion's Tail.
Well, this episode that we're watching this week is the 16th episode of the 22nd season, and it is called A Midsummer's Night's Dream. And in it, Springfield's favorite comedians, Cheech and Chong, break up as comedy partners. Homer becomes Cheech's new partner, and Chong gets Skinner. Meanwhile, Lisa and Marge turn the table on crazy cat ladies' ways. Will this episode redeem our beloved show?
Steve, this does not sound promising. I gotta tell you.
But you got some Cheech and some Chong and some cat lady.
Cheech and Chong aren't relevant anymore, right?
I mean, I guess not. So, yeah, maybe this episode is just another stinker.
Are we going to end this podcast after this?
We might have to.
All right. Well, here's what we're going to do, Steve. We're going to smoke a giant bowl because
Yeah,
it's a
man.
stoner-related episode, and we're going to watch it and then talk about it. So you two will talk about this episode, and if you're talking to us while you're listening to us, then you have a problem.
Yeah, shut up. We're trying to talk.
Shut up.
Let's take a break. And we're back. Today we are talking about A Midsummer's Nice Dream. It is the 16th episode of the 22nd season. Originally aired on March 13th, 2011, a day before your birthday, Greg. Number 480 in the show's run. Your nerd code is NABF09. It was written by Dan Castellaneta and Deb Lacusta, directed by Stephen Dean Moore, and your showrunners are Matt Selman and Al Jean.
So we haven't had a Dan Castellaneta with Deb Lacusta episode yet.
No.
Now, for those who are just tuning in to this episode, Dan Castellaneta is a... hold on, I need to Google this guy's name. I haven't heard of him before. Steve,
I think
you know
he
who
might
this
be
is?
an actor of some sort.
Okay. All right.
I know he was in Parks and Rec for a couple episodes.
Oh, right. And Wayne's World. He was
Yeah.
the DJ in Wayne's World, like Handsome Pete or whatever. No, it's... Anyway, okay. So dumb joke, guys. Yeah, Dan co-wrote this with Deb, but she's actually she's married to Dan.
Oh.
Their husband and wife. That's right. They've been married since 1987. She's a writer and actress. Started out on the Tracy Ullman Show, so she was a writer there and an actress on that.
Huh, I wonder if
And
they met on set.
It seems highly likely, Steve. And but she has 9 episode writing credits on The Simpsons.
Wow.
The first one was in 2000. It was Days of Wine and Dozes. Next one we got Gump. Oh, did you want to say something?
Oh, yes. I just want to say I did some research here real quick. They did not meet at the taping of the show. They met in an improv class in Chicago.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
they've been together forever.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about the Hollywood celebrity couples that have stayed together, like the Rita Wilsons, the Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the Dan Castellanetas and the Deb Lacustas, right?
Yeah, they've been together for
Yeah.
much longer.
For however long. We're not doing the math here. That's your job.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, she wrote on Days of Wine and Dozes, then 2002, Gump Roast, then followed by The Ziff Who Came to Dinner, Kiss Case Bang Bangalore,
Ooh.
The Fight Before Christmas, Midsummer's Nice Dream, which we're talking about this week, 10% Solution, Havana Wild Weekend, and then 2018 was the last one she wrote was My Way or the Highway to Heaven. I recognize some of those titles, and
Yeah.
like The Ziff Who Came to Dinner and Gump Roast, I remember those ones, and we'll be reviewing those eventually one of these days.
It's true. Yeah, for sure.
So she has 4 credits of actress on IMDb here. She's got The Simpsons as Isabella in Havana Wild Weekend. She's nurse in Forget Paris.
Oh.
She played a line or had a voice in Poor Iago in the Aladdin TV series, which of course Dan Castellaneta was the voice of the genie.
That's true.
And then TV series says Various, but there you go. There's Deb. So this is it's real life Homer and real life Marge.
Yeah.
When I say real life Marge, Dan's Marge.
Mm-hmm. Written by Dan and
Yes,
Deb
written-
and co-written by Love.
There you go, Steve. That's one of the best segues. Why am I talking like this?
Oi!
Let's continue on with this episode here.
Alrighty, so our title gag is Professor Frink flies by in a jetpack. Our billboard gag is Springfield Wax Museum. We fixed our air conditioner. Our chalkboard gag is Daylight Savings is not a failed bank. And then our couch gag is the family sits on the sofa and the spring-loaded cushions shoot them off, causing them to slam into the screen with Maggie hanging on and sliding down last.
Daylight savings is not a failed bank. Pretty funny joke. I also
Yeah.
like the air conditioner joke.
Yeah,
'cause
I like
all the wax figures melted. I get it.
You got it. So some solid opening bits.
And the Maggie falling down on the TV screen or the camera, essentially, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly. Yeah,
Way to go.
so-
Way to go, Steve. You wrote this episode. Oh, do we not forget that Lisa is playing, is she playing the Kenny G saxophone or is she just playing like a trumpet?
I think she's just playing the Kenny G sax, but I could be wrong.
Soprano sax?
Yeah, the HBO sax. I never watched the show.
It looks like she's playing the trumpet.
Maybe she's playing the trumpet.
Maybe she's playing a cornet. Let's
Oh.
just go with that, all right?
Okay.
I always kind of like that, especially in these newer episodes where they show. I always like Sherry O'Terry. By the way, every time I say Sherry Terry, it sounds like saying Sherry O'Terry.
It's true.
I noticed that when I was listening to a podcast from a couple weeks ago. It's like Sherry O'Terry. I'm like, no, it's Sherry. So, do you think Sherry O'Terry came up with her? Like, is that her stage name? She's like Sherry.
Probably, yeah.
Terry. Okay. She's kind of crazy, isn't she?
I know. I think she's.
How come she is not in like every Will Ferrell movie or Adam Sandler
I think
movie?
she has a stage career.
Really? All right.
Yeah, I think so. I
She's
could be
not
wrong.
like she's not like crazy bonkers like Victoria Jackson. Is she?
No. She's normal. I heard her on a podcast within the past couple of years, and she's good.
I heard she was difficult to get along with. It's the same with Chris Kattan. Weren't they both like kind of like not divas? Well, yeah, divas.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Chris Kattan.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to. It was that whole Amy heckling thing. If you guys know what we're talking about, type in Amy heckling and Chris Kattan, and I'll let you guys do the. We don't want to talk about it. This isn't an SNL podcast yet.
There's also not yet, but how about that, Pat? There was talk also before that I heard from I think Horatio Sands about how Kattan was kind of not a ladies' man. That's another SNL member, but kind of.
Can he be part of that Me Too movement? Maybe,
or at least maybe a little scummy, but who knows?
Yeah. Continue with this episode.
Alrighty, our episode opens.
Oh wait! That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Backtrack here. Was because I said Sherry or Terry are playing the Game Boys or whatever, and when they edit into or they animate a new scene with Lisa not playing the saxophone, like sometimes she play a harp or a xylophone or whatever. I enjoyed that. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, and like when she's playing it a little bit differently, but it's a good time.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted to bring up. We got this weird SNL sidetrack.
Perfect.
Well, I did. You didn't.
Yeah. Steve's
trying to actually like do the show, where I'm just like trying.
You're fine. Don Pardo was in the mob.
I'm just, I got a lot of 420 vibes from this episode, man.
Were you like studying hard for this?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
Dave's not here.
We'll get there. Our episode opens with news from Kent Brockman.
The Queen will be held without bail until the sample is returned from the lab. And now it's time for That's Kent Entertainment.
Okay, first off, I gotta say, the way this episode opens with the mugshot of Queen Elizabeth and the delivery, like right there, you just had a great opener.
Yeah.
It's the classic Kent Brockman, but also like comedy-wise, like, well, we missed the entire story, but here's the punchline, and it was just great. And then we get into the Kent Brockman like segment of like
That's Kent Entertainment
thing. Yeah, that's Kent Entertainment, which he's like everybody except for like the Uma Thurman character.
No, but I love the fact that he's Red Miller.
There's making out, and then the Godfather thing with the cut off head with the horse,
and the fact that the horse or his head it blinks or winks at you. It's like, hey,
yeah, it's so far solid opening.
Yeah,
I feel like our Simpsons mojo's coming back after last week.
I think you're right.
So I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, me too.
If we're in 2011, this was the week after our. Should we just call that episode the episode that should not be named, like the Voldemort thing?
Maybe, yeah.
Let's call it episode Voldemort. We can say Voldemort, but we can't say
all we want. Yeah.
All right, so episode Voldemort the week before. So far, we're off to a great start.
Yeah, so it turns out that Cheech and Chong are returning to Springfield for a reunion show, and also they're from Springfield.
Cheech and Chong are coming back to Springfield?
Cheech and Chong are from Springfield?
Lucy and Desi are getting a divorce?
Before they formed their joint partnership, Tommy Chong and Richard Cheech Marin briefly worked as Channel 6 meteorologists.
Tomorrow, a high-pressure front brings a strong possibility of drizzle.
Then the doobie of destiny changed their lives forever when police burned marijuana seized from the Buddy Rich Orchestra in a nearby lot.
So, check your barometer, thermometer, anemometer. Why does everything have to have an ometer on it?
And what is rain, man? It's like we're in the apartment under God and his fat sister overflowed the tub.
Again, Lisa bringing up that lot. She's just saying, like, her doubtfulness. Like, Cheech and Chong are from Springfield? So far, like I'm saying, this episode.
It's solid so far.
It's so far. Which is kind of how these later seasons produces. Is the first 10 minutes are good and then just slides downhill. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yes, the Buddy Rich Orchestra. I've mentioned it before, but if you haven't, check out the Buddy Rich tapes on YouTube. Man, he was a dick, but great drummer.
Well, Steve, like any podcast or comic book, we try to do the Stan Lee approach of podcasting, which is Stan Lee always said, make sure every comic book could be a first comic book for a person. So let's say we do podcasting. So this might be someone's first Simpsons, 130 Simpsons podcast. So what was the Buddy Rich thing you were trying to?
So there's tapes that were released of Buddy Rich on the tour bus after a performance, basically just yelling at all of his band members and just like going into town. Like if it's like when like you watch a show where kids are hearing profanity for the first time and their mind is blown by all the new words that they're hearing. That's what it sounds like when he's yelling at these people.
Every time you see a story about Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, I'm always like, if I see like on Google alerts or news or whatever, it says like Fred Rogers or Mr. Rogers, like I'm like, holy shit, what did he do? But it's never anything negative. Like, do you think there was ever clips out there with like Fred Rogers just being like, you fucking assholes and you fucking jerks? I don't know.
When did Jack Nicholson play Fred Rogers?
Well, originally they were gonna hire him, but he said no, and then Tom Hanks took the role.
Here's Mr. Rogers.
I really want to see this movie now.
It turns out that the duo will start their tour at Squidport's new amphitheater, an $800 million boondoggle based on nothing more than a cute play on words, the Clampatheater.
We've talked about this before in the podcast, before we love the signage that the writers come up with on the show. And so in this scene, they're just like, let's just address the elephant in the room, right? Like, yeah, it's just a funny play on words.
That's all.
Great joke.
So depressed that Bart isn't aware of Cheech and Chong or Beavis and Butthead, Homer sends his children to the media room, also known as the attic, where they examine Homer's classic comedy albums.
Back then, we'd play these albums again and again till they were filled with skips and clicks and pops, which was about 3 times.
These are comedy albums? The Noisy Minority, the Upside Down Bubblegum Collective, the Regional Lampoon, the Plymouth Grok Experiment, Fro and Flo, Alan Sherman's Helter Schmelter.
What are you guys doing up there?
Hide the dope!
We don't have any dope.
And what did I just smoke?
The idea of the media room being the attic, and that's like the stoner thing. But there was a little part of me that wishes that they went to the only seen like 2 or 3 times Rumpus room. The one where it's like the beanbag chair with the smaller TV and Homer can look out to see Bart's treehouse. We never get to see that room like 3 times. I want more of the Rumpus room.
They have such a nice house and they only utilize like 3 rooms in it.
Remember the I'm sure this will be mentioned in the future. It's probably mentioned in the past, but the house that they built in Arizona that was laid out just like the Simpsons house.
Yeah.
And the guy won it. And
there's a whole thing.
Yeah. It is. And not like it's like an actual house neighborhood. They had to like paint it, but
man,
just to live in that house, right?
Yeah. 10-year-old me wanted that house so badly.
38-year-old me wants to live there too.
Yeah. Although I don't want to live in Arizona, but no offense to you Arizona listeners, of which I don't think we have any.
I wouldn't mind living in Arizona from the months of October to April. We're good there. Weather's fine.
And you get to watch your President's baseball.
Yeah, you get spring training. Definitely.
In the attic, they also listen to some record albums. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to bring up that Bart doesn't know who Beavis and Butthead.
So they're talking about Cheech and Chong, classic stoner duo. And, also referencing not exactly a stoner duo, but another stoner-esque duo of the 90s, Beavis and Butthead. So we thought we could talk about the various stoner duos throughout history.
So I was thinking, like, this scene, they could have done Homer, or they could have wrote a different, or continue the joke with, instead of saying Beavis and Butthead, he could have just, like, set off all of the, like, the typical stoner duos through the decades. Like, you had the 70s, you had Cheech and Chong, right? And then I guess the 80s could have been, like, Bill and Ted, or like you said, off pod Wayne and Garth. So Homer would be like, Bill and Ted, and then Bart would be like, huh? Wayne and Garth? Jay and Silent Bob? Just like doing different voices. You get to the 2000s, which this episode came in 2011, so the 2000 stoner duo would have been Harold and Kumar.
That's right.
And I don't know who the 2010s stoners are.
I would have to give it to Abby and Alana of that show, Broad City. They were very funny and very stony.
I have never watched that, but I like that because the way we're trying to, it's always the dudes as the stoner guys, and now it's the females, huh?
Yeah, I highly recommend all of Broad City. It's a very good show.
All right.
Really good.
So for you stoners out there, do the decade's worth of work. You start in the 70s with Cheech and Chong, and then go into the 80s with some Bill and Ted, and with the early 80s or late 80s, 90s, do some Wayne and Garth, and then you do some Jay and Silent Bob, and then some Harold and Kumar, and then Broad City ladies.
Yep, nothing better than giving stoners homework.
Oh, wait, and don't forget Half Baked with Goat Boy and
David Chappelle.
David LaChapelle.
Yes, it's a great director. Alrighty, well, I just wanted to mention that while they're in the attic, they listen to some comedy albums from the 60s and 70s. And as I mentioned last week, I've been trying to build a record collection of comedy albums. So I thought on a whim I'd buy some older ones, especially some like National Lampoon, because I thought, oh, National Lampoon is funny.
Regional Lampoon.
But yeah, so I've purchased records like this, and man, they do not work.
Is it because of the time, or is it just the jokes aren't funny?
I don't know what the jokes are. It's just a lot of clips of things happening that I don't understand.
You know, it's funny. We mentioned in an episode, was it last week, about Lenny Bruce?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't bring this point up because I thought about this after we talked about it, and it was, we didn't understand that because we didn't grow up with that. We didn't know what the time period was like. So Lenny Bruce did this thing, and then other comedians saw that and copied or did that version. And that's why like certain things like, and that's why I was going to bring this up, is that Cheech and Chong, if you listen to like their old albums, and like I think with today's society, they're not going to laugh at all. They're like, this is supposed to be funny. And we just mentioned all these other stoners in TV improving on it, or just trying to put it into their own zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it there with Cheech and Chong, and like kind of spawned all these other stoners, I would say like Jay and Silent Bob and Bill and Ted and Harold and Kumar, like I think they get more, like if you look at Harold and Kumar, like I feel it's more, I'm doing air quotes again, like sophisticated stoner comedy in a way, right?
Yeah.
And now with Broad City, as you put it, like I think that's more of the sophisticated stoner comedy.
It's true,
where it's not just Dave's not here, man.
Right. I think
Stone,
that the
man.
genre grows by its predecessors. So, and I think that's what art does, is you grow. And so like the caveman paintings evolved into Renaissance paintings through time.
I talked about the caveman Geico people. They evolved into a lizard, and then
that lady and
then Flo, and that's progressive.
Yeah, it's all the same.
But yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring up. It's
yeah, that's a really good point. I also really liked Alan Sherman's Helter Smelter. Sorry for the mess. That made me laugh.
Okay, that was hilarious.
At the Clampa Theater, we see that Mr. Hippie Hip Replacements are presenting Cheech and Chong. After being introduced by a reluctant Krusty, we see the classic stoner comedy duo doing one of their most iconic bits with the help of Homer.
Thank you. When they asked me to introduce Cheech and Chong, I said, how much? And they said, we don't pay for introductions. So I said, then I don't need this crummy gig. And they said, yes, you do. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, Cheech and Chong.
Who is it?
It's me, Dave, man. Open up. I got the stuff.
I thought they'd do bits, but their most famous bit?
Will you open up? I got the stuff with me.
Ooh, he's gonna say Dave's not here. Dave's not here. Dave's not here.
Dave's not here! Dave's not here!
Say the line, man.
They already know the line. What's the surprise? What's the point?
The point is they still give us a shoebox full of 20s to do this. Now say it.
Dave's not going to sell out anymore, man. I can't say it.
We then see Chong somersaulting around the stage, and then declares that he's tired of being confined to the same old bits and catchphrases and wants to experiment.
Chong is refusing to fall back on his old catchphrases.
Ay, caramba.
So, Steve, I'm not like really versed into the Cheech and Chong verse, but I kind of remember back in the day when they broke up, to do acting careers, that Tommy Chong kind of always was in roles trying to be the stoner guy.
Right.
Whereas Cheech went on to, as Kent Brockman mentioned, Nash Bridges. He was trying to be a legit actor.
Yeah. And Chong
so
basically worked at that 7-day show for several years.
Yeah. And then he even got arrested for selling Chong line bongs or whatever. And so I think it's funny, based on that knowledge I have, it's interesting that he's the one who doesn't want to be part of the Cheech and Chong universe, where Cheech does.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a thing that our fans out there know. Is that true?
Yeah.
I could look it up, but I don't want to.
Yeah, let us know at 138 Simpsons on Twitter.
So
Hashtag Chong Bong King
Wrong.
Kong.
Another funny part comes up here is Marge suggests that Homer helps out despite the fact that he's drunk and not stoned.
It's a different game.
Some of us like to be both.
Some of us do. So Homer jumps on stage and performs Dave's Not Here, and the audience just eats it up, especially as a cloud of smoke surrounds the crowd, causing bouncing stone giggles from Cletus and Brandine and their fetus, Smithers and Burns, who see the duo as Laurel and Hardy, and the rest of the audience, except for extremely tall man who is above the weed smoke.
Two things that I noticed in this scene was, one, Cletus and Brandine, their baby doesn't have an umbilical cord.
Huh. Evolution is not real.
All right. And then two, is this the return of Tall Man?
I think so. He may have made some other appearances in like background scenes or whatnot, but this is like probably one of his more like blatant scenes with him. Yeah.
All right. Nice to see a returning face.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I did enjoy that Burns was watching Laurel and Hardy, but also Stone.
Yeah. Because the show is a success, Homer goes on tour under the moniker Cheech and Chunk, and Marge is supportive.
It is so cool for you to let me go on tour with Cheech.
And remember, on the road, the only vice you can indulge in is gluttony. Save lust and rage for me and the kids.
Sweetie, don't worry. I'm gonna come back so horny and angry.
Oh.
That's a very dark quote.
It is, but I enjoyed it.
A little too much?
Maybe.
I also enjoy the fact that Homer puts on the banana with the ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, the whole scene, man. Oh.
Good stuff.
Also, the fact that Cheech is driving the van, too. I don't know, there's so many like little things like they wouldn't be driving the van themselves.
Yeah.
You'd have people. They'd probably have airplanes. This is Star of Nash Bridges, for God's sakes.
Co-star, really.
This episode's getting to me. I don't know. I may be turning.
Uh-oh.
Keep me on track. Keep me on track.
Okay. Well, while on the bus, Homer angers Cheech by mentioning his former partner's name, which causes Cheech to deface all the merchandising bearing the vestige of Chong, including T-shirts and jackets and such.
And the patches, yeah. He also just like gets up from the RV without anyone. Or
Homer, much like Jesus, takes the wheel. Back in Springfield, Chong is auditioning the townspeople in search of a new partner who is open-minded and adventurous, and Lenny and Carl experience some strife in their friendship.
Okay, man. What I'm looking for in a new Cheech is someone who is, like, open-minded and adventurous. I haven't decided about the mustache yet, but you need your own suspenders.
Snap, snap.
Our friendship died with the first snap, and you buried it with the second.
This is part of a joke that will have a nice like little comeback.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I really liked also Ralph doing
I did too.
some observational comedy about snot.
You ever notice how your nose makes boogers? What's up with that?
It was good.
Yeah.
That Ralph quote might be my favorite, but probably not. He's dressed up and he's just doing the whole act, and like this, like the animation of like his hands moving to his head.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Gil doing his bit,
which I also enjoyed. I like him using the napkin as both a mustache and a hair bow.
Really good at doing the prop, but the one comic that did it for me was the one that was hired. And
Principal Skinner performs a verbatim version of one of Cheech and Chong's old bits, but Tommy inspires him to wing it and do an improv.
A lot of people have cell phones, but I like to eat healthy, so I invented the celery phone. Hello? Hello?
Wow. You are the unfunniest man I've ever seen, which means teaming up with you would be totally pushing the envelope.
Mother, how did you get this number? It's a prop phone. Yes, I have your celery. I took the limpest stalk there was.
Stop it! Stop riffing! The gig is yours!
what's your take on prop comedy?
You know, people poo-poo on it a lot, but I think it can be done okay.
Well, look at Carrot Top. Like, he's got a successful
I'd rather
Vegas
not.
show. Okay, well, listen to the Carrot Top. You don't have to look
Okay.
at him. He's got a successful Vegas gig, and I've never been Vegas. So, but if I were, maybe I would go see it because it's supposed to be good.
Yeah, I just
like-
remember seeing him on TV and I would laugh.
Well, you were 12.
Sure,
But
it
we
was
were
still
also
funny.
12 when we watched The Simpsons. So
There you go. Why don't we have a
I
Carrot Top
like-
cast?
that was probably one of my favorite scenes was Skinner continuing the conversation with his mother on the phone, which it wasn't improv because you know,
I picked the limpest one I could find.
one of my complaints on this episode we'll talk about in the wrap up, but Skinner's part of my complaints in this episode. But
Okay.
in a good way. That's
Yeah.
a teaser for our wrap up.
Alrighty, stay tuned. So Chong decides to hire the dorky principal. Meanwhile, Marge and Lisa decide to return Homer's old movies to the spot where the old Blockbuster used to be. While doing so, Santa's little helper chases a cat into a pet door of the crazy cat lady.
Can we just boast of the fact that here in Oregon we still have
Mhm.
the only Operation Old Blockbuster?
Visited by Weird Al just a couple days ago.
Yeah, I saw that on the Instagram.
Yeah.
I've driven by it many times when I go to the mountains. Mountain.
Mhm.
So there's that.
I was always more of a Hollywood Video guy.
I was too. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Hollywood Video national, or was that just kind of?
I think it maybe not as widespread as Blockbuster, but it felt like the big guy or the little guy, even though it probably wasn't.
No, I feel like in our area, in the Portland metro area, I think Hollywood Video reigned supreme over Blockbusters. There was more Hollywood Videos than Blockbusters.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Hollywood Video was the Kroger's, whereas Blockbuster was the Sam's Club.
That's true.
AKA Walmart.
And Fred Meyer.
There you go. That's a Portland thing.
Respectively. Kind of miss video stores.
Yeah, because I remember the Hollywood Video that was connected to the Fred Meyer in downtown Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it had like the giant mural of the Enterprise?
Oh, yeah. I remember that. They had the big spotlights.
I do miss the video store.
It was a fun experience. I don't want to sound like an old man, but like now with the streaming, you have all these choices, but there's nothing on.
It's the thing too with, I think the problem with cell phones is because I'll put a movie on that I've, never seen, like rent it or not rent it, but like on Netflix or any of the platforms where it's like, well, I pay for the subscription, so I'll put it on, but I'll sit on my phone and look at that while the movie's on the background. But if you go to the store or even like the red boxes, which I've never done a red box, but I've only done a hot box. Hey. Sticking with the theme of the show. If you rent something, then you have to watch it.
Yeah, there's that act of it that
I need to
makes
rent more.
A commitment. Yeah, I think we all do.
And that way I can pay attention because I'm like, okay, well, I paid $6.99 for whatever. I don't even know how much a rental is.
It's like $2 for the red box.
Okay, $2 for red box. That's commitment because you have to go there and put it in a device. And even if it was like renting something from like video on demand, I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. So as Marge and Lisa attempt to retrieve their dog, it is revealed that the crazy cat lady is a bit of a hoarder.
Easter grass Cable Ace Awards? Aquariums full of broken pinball game parts, popped but uneaten Jiffy Pops still in the silver bubble? Sample-size shampoos, detergents, and whiskeys, and...
I hate to say this about the cat lady, but I think she's crazy. She's a hoarder.
So is this like the first instance where the crazy cat lady is shown to be not just a
throwaway gag character?
Yeah.
As far as I know, but we might hit upon an episode that is before this, the 22nd season, where she does have more depth. But this is the first time that we've definitely seen, while doing the show, of her as a real person.
All right.
So she's embarrassed, and the Simpsons women want to help her. Back on the tour bus, Cheech is imparting the importance of hard work and comedy, while Homer just wants to have fun and hang out. Marge has assembled a team of Springfieldians to help clean out Crazy Cat Lady's house, while Crazy Cat Lady goes to see the musical Cats.
Funny, kind of timely when we're recording this podcast because the trailer for the Cats movie came out. I think we talked about it a few episodes ago, but I think the animation in this episode is way more palatable than what we saw in that trailer.
I would definitely rather go see 90 minutes of Simpsons animated Cats than that monstrosity of CGI and Hellspawn.
Can we go back to when Marge is looking through Crazy Cat Lady's house and Mo has been taping?
Oh, yes. Been taping them.
So was the joke, he's taping them and he sent it to NBC to the Cayman Islands. Was there some sort of NBC doing some sort of shenanigans, or is just Mo being the creep?
I think it's Mo being a creep and NBC just having a lot of money on the offshore, so they're sending it to them. I don't know that there's anything specific, but I could be wrong.
Well, if you guys know, tweet Steve at 138Simpsons on Twitter. Marge is getting all these people together. And so our lineup, we got Ned Flanders, we got Helen Lovejoy, we got Reverend Lovejoy, Willie, and Sideshow Mel. I'm looking at the lineup now. Sideshow Mel looks pretty short.
It's true, he does.
Like, he's like only like 5'7", maybe, 5'6". He looks taller on TV, though.
Well, TV does add a few inches.
There you go.
And he is a cartoon.
But he looks short here, guys. Come on. Oh, also, sorry. Back to the Cats thing. A little noticing that Smithers and Burns are also in attendance.
Nice little, not a date night, but I'm sure Smithers wishes it was.
But Burns looks fucking pissed, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Just watch that scene. Look at his, he's got the scowl going on. All right.
The now sane cat lady's house is free of clutter, as is her mind. But as Marge sends off the dump truck Humpty Dumpster away, she sees a thing or two of value.
A perfectly good hot lather dispenser. I can't count the number of times Homie's cried in anguish over his lukewarm lather. Ooh, a pen from the Milwaukee Hilton. A phone answering machine from the 80s.
Nobody's home.
All of J.D. Salinger's books except Catcher in the Rye. Used pizza protectors.
She's crazy, but I'd do her.
Oh, no, Marge, don't become a hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew it was coming, right?
Had to happen to somebody, but,
Poor Marge.
I will say that, they're talking about some stuff of value. And
I'll bring this up real quick.
Okay.
They had the pizza topping things, like little tables.
The Barbie tables.
Another one was the J.D. Salinger books. I thought was funny, but I think that's like a smart person joke because I only know Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, I'll have you know that I have on my bookshelf all the works of J.D. Salinger except for Catcher in the Rye.
Is it just 3 other books?
Yep, and I may have bought them as a set.
So that actually happened to you?
Yeah, I think so.
Where were you, like, at a Goodwill and like, ooh?
No, I bought them new. I looks like
was there an actual like
$5.99 a piece for them?
Was there an actual box and then like one chunk missing?
No, actually, I think there was just like a box set of not Catcher in the Rye, the other stuff.
Was that actually how they sold us? It was like not Catcher in the Rye, the other stuff.
Look smart, be an asshole.
As the Cheech and Chunk tour is a success, Richard Anthony Cheech Marin offers Homer a reward. Homer imagines that reward to be a 70-stone haze of them walking down a street full of pimps and pushers and turning Wingman to a Plopper the pig, Marge to a flower child, and joints from the squishy machine. This results in Homer eating himself in a fantasy and chewing on his arm in reality. So this is a song, a Cheech and Chong song.
Yeah, called Basketball Jones.
Basketball Jones, which I imagine my parents and
my oldest siblings
would have thought funny in the 70s.
Probably. It just looks kind of like maybe like a little bit of R. Crumb kind of animation.
I was getting the vibe of was Fat Albert animation,
hey.
Which, as we know now, the creator was really into drugging women. What did you think of this whole scene?
I thought it was like kind of a fun throw to Cheech and Chong as a greater thing because they probably had like stony scenes in their movies. And so it's a nice tribute to that.
Homer eating of his body. I wasn't disturbed by it. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I thought it was so silly that it wasn't gross. Yeah. But kids, don't eat yourself because that's not healthy. Where are you going to poop it out? The actual reward was Cheech taking him to the East Springfield Latino Art Museum. This causes Homer to lament that his comedy partner isn't his exact stage persona and that there are no wacky adventures like in the movies.
Back with Cheech and Chong, we see a different interpretation of comedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, man, prepare for comedy that will murder your expectations and bury them in a sea of what? With waves of huh. I am Dave.
Dave is here. Man.
Skinner! This dessert menu is funnier than you.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm funnier than the cocktail napkins.
They're blank, Seymour.
Yes, but there are 2 K sounds in cocktail.
Yes, there are.
It's a nice appearance of Super Nintendo Chalmers. For those of you curious, the wacky features at the Comedy Club for dessert are Here Come the Fudge, Jell-O, I Must Be Going, Pudding on the Ritz, and You Ain't Nothing But a Pound Cake. And they were each $6.
So for 2011, $6 for a dessert is a pretty good price.
Yeah. And a secret, kids, if you go to a comedy club, you don't have to get 2 drinks. You can get fries and a Coke. That's 2 items, baby. You're in the clear.
Are you a dessert person? Like when you go to a restaurant, do you get desserts?
Hardly ever. And
do you get your just desserts?
Oh, I do. Oh, I will. I'm kind of scared about it. They're going to get me, everybody. But usually if I do, I'm usually with my wife. We usually split a dessert if we get one because we just had dinner and we don't need all of that.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, yeah.
Yeah. Occasionally I will, but not often. How about you? I mean, I guess with your diet, you probably don't get a lot of dessert.
Because I don't eat sugar, so apparently Siri does.
Sorry. She heard desert and decided to look it up.
Even when I was eating sugar, I was never like a dessert guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's because the way I was raised. When I went out to dinner with my family, and we only really went on like special occasions like birthdays or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we went out there, it was we had our dinner, and then the waiter would come around and say, how about dessert? And my father would be like, no dessert, we're good. So I think that's how I was raised. We never had dessert.
We were a dessert family, like not going out, although I will say our dad always treated us to fortune cookies anytime we went out to Chinese, so that was a special treat. And the fortune was for us to get better. No, at home, we were a dessert family. It was usually like rotating Jell-O, pudding, cookies, cake, and then in the summertime, fresh fruit.
Well, I feel like fresh fruit's not a dessert. That's good for you.
It is, but like sometimes we'd get like a watermelon, and that would be our nice dessert treat.
I love a watermelon.
Yeah, I made a watermelon aqua fresca at work recently. It was goddamn delicious.
Was there vodka in it?
No, but there is the option of sparkling champagne.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Indeed.
All right. Well, anyway, so Bart and Lisa are relating their first day of school to one another.
So, how was your first day of school?
I met the new principal, Mr. Baumgartner. He seemed really cool. When he walked through the gym, he shot a basket.
And they walk into their home to find that it's been hoarded. So, Steve, this is kind of weird so this is their first day back at school?
Mm-hmm.
Like, new school year?
But this episode aired in March.
First day back from the weekend?
Maybe. But you don't say, how was your first day back? You say, how was Monday?
No.
Maybe it was spring break.
There you go. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring break, because Principal Skinner's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So there's some fun visuals in the hoarded house, including the series of the boat paintings that would go fit perfectly above the couch.
Oh, I was going to bring that up, too. I like that, and it reminded me of, like, 90s comic books where they had a different cover. Like, here's your basic cover, but here's your alternate cover.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You could buy for extra price. So it's like, here's your basic Simpsons sailboat photo, or painting, but now here's the deluxe edition. Here's a chrome variant. I thought that was fun, and I think they could make trading cards just based on all those Simpsons sailboats.
I like it.
I almost just want my whole wall to be those different sailboats.
That would be very awesome.
Maybe that could be a whole wall of tattoos.
Oh, interesting. The Simpsons realize that Homer is their only hope, but when they go to call Homer, he's a little busy.
Now, Homer, what do we agree about personal phone calls during rehearsal time?
It's disrespectful to the high standards people have come to expect from Cheech and Chunk.
That's right. Now let's take it from the part where we sniff each other's butts.
Yes, sir.
Come on, sniff! Oh, that's a movie sniff. This is live theater. Now inhale, damn it. I'm hearing it, but I'm not feeling it.
Homer rushes home with the cat lady to help Marge.
Marge, sweetie, do you know how low prices are insane? Well, sometimes people can be, too.
What are you talking about?
Marge, you saved me. Now I want to save you.
I'm not a hoarder. Do the Yankees hoard pennants? Does Marrakesh hoard intrigue?
Marge, what can one person honestly do with filled-in mini-golf score sheets? Oh, God! European ketchup! Rolls of I-voted stickers! Styrofoam shaped like old computers! Oh!
Homer leads Marge to the tour bus, and the cat lady summons all the city's cats. And cat lady's, once again, kind of cat lady crazy. So that was all for nothing. They end up at Ogdenville's Barley Palace, where Homer inspires Chong to go back on stage with his former partner. The duo decide to compromise, and Lenny and Carl make up from earlier.
I'm sorry I mocked your lack of suspenders. I guess I was just jealous of your belt.
This belt has caused too many fights between us.
Just a little thing they could have added when they were in Ogdenville, when they did the establishing shot, just in the background of a broken monorail.
Oh, that would have been wonderful.
Just have like one of the cars just like dangling.
Yeah.
That's all I was asking.
That'd be beautiful.
For. I did enjoy the Lenny and Carl. It's one of those Simpsons jokes where they've done it before. I can't come off of like a reference, but he just pulls the belt off
and burns it.
A lighter just burns it, and it just burns within like seconds. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Bart then appears as Puck from A Midsummer's Night Dream and recaps everything.
How now, mad spirits? Before we part, 'tis I, mischievous and puckish Bart. 'Twas not I the players did disturb, 'twas the doings of a green and naughty herb. The gods have righted every wrong. Cheech the stoner has his chong. And Homer, he is back with Mom. You can watch us tomorrow at Hulu.com.
Hey Siri, tell me about Cheech and Chong.
Okay, I found this on the web for Tell Me About Fish and Chong. Check it out.
Thanks, Siri. Alrighty. So yeah, our credits roll with Cheech, Chong, and Homer doing a rendition of Dave's Not Here, and that's our episode.
Steve, I think we should just play off with the Dave's Not Here with Homer. Let's come back and then we'll wrap up this episode. How about that?
Sounds like a plan, man.
Craig's not here, man.
Craig, is that you?
Who is it?
It's me, Dave, man. Open up. I got the stuff.
Who?
Dave, man.
Dave's not here.
Hold on. Let me get the door here. Who are you?
It's Dave, man.
You ruined it, man. You weren't supposed to open the door.
Oh, okay, wait. Let's start again.
Close the door.
I'll be out here with you, Dave.
Hey, Homer.
Yes?
Why don't you go and get us some stuff?
Okay,
All right.
I'll go get some stuff.
Way down there. Way far down there.
Way down here?
Yeah, wait. Keep going. Keep going. Now turn the corner. Turn the corner.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
Who is it?
It's me, relieved.
And we're back, Steve. Let's wrap up this episode.
Indeed.
All right, let's do some little trivia.
Alrighty. When edited for syndication, the dialogue of the truck driver regarding Marge was cut out. So he says, that lady's crazy, but I'd still do her. That is cut out in syndication.
That was a little too much like a Family Guy joke.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a Simpsons thing.
Yeah, I didn't like it, and I'm glad they cut it out in syndication.
Yeah.
Stop objectifying Marge, right?
That's right. She's a complex person, not just a piece of meat. Right. This is also the third episode to be banned from airing in the UK because of drug themes. First two were Weekend at Burnsies and Love Springfieldian Style.
Should we talk about our favorite quote?
Yeah, so I have to say that my favorite quote is when Marge is offering some support to Homer as he's about to go on tour. She says, "Remember, don't indulge in any sin except gluttony. Save lust and rage for me and the kids." And then Homer replies, "Relax, sweetie. I'm going to come back so horny and angry." And that's my favorite line.
And I like that quote too, but I feel like if I just said that was my favorite quote, cheating out. I like how this episode cheating out, yeah. I felt like this episode started out really strong for me with the opening quote of Kent Brockman just saying, "And the queen will be held without bail until the samples are returned." There's just something about that kind of opening, which I mentioned in the episode before, that they just started off strongly with just a funny punchline without the joke, because we have to create the joke in our head. So those are our favorite quotes. What's your favorite quotes in this episode? Again, tweet us at 138 Simpsons. Should we do our tattoo moment?
Yeah, so my tattoos, I actually have three. So there's Burns' vision of Laurel and Hardy when he's high and watching Cheech and Chong. I like that a lot. My second one is Homer dressed as a dog sniffing Chong's butt, just because it's funny to me. But I think my favorite is of the celery phone. I just want that. I just want an old cordless telephone with some limp celery wrapped around it.
I like the idea for myself with doing two shoulder tattoos, maybe. Cheech and Chunk on one, and then Cheech and Chong on the other shoulder.
Nice.
But then I also said my favorite quote was the beginning of the episode with the Queen mugshot, and I almost want the Queen Elizabeth's mugshot tattooed.
That's pretty solid.
On my body. I legit wouldn't mind that tattoo on me. Like, this is not an episode that's like considered a classic, right? But if I ever go to England and I have like a Simpsons version of the Queen of England tattooed on a mugshot, I don't know.
Perfect.
Do we have any outside reviews?
The episode was generally negatively reviewed. Rowan Kaiser gave it a D, saying,
"Not the Kaiser.
The very same. He and his role.
He's different from the ground up, too."
I think everyone gets that. So he gave the episode a D, saying, "I have no idea what the Simpsons were trying to do tonight," and called it the worst episode of the season. And seeing two episodes of the season, I can assure you that is not true.
Did he not watch Scorpion's Tail?
I know.
Sorry, Voldemort.
Voldemort episode, yes.
We can't say Scorpion.
No.
I said it.
Eric Hochberger gave the episode a 2.5 out of 5.
Well, that's pretty good. It's
yeah. But the Parents Television Council named A Midsummer's Nice Dream its worst TV show of the week for the subject matter, and it was the first Simpsons episode to be so named. The Simpsons may have been on for 22 years now and counting, and while there are plenty of adults who watch the show, no one can deny that there's also a sizable audience of children. Since Cheech is portrayed as straight-laced, stick-in-the-mud, the subtle anti-drug message in the shows are completely lost. In the end, sober still equals boring.
If you go to TV.com Auditions.com with all the fan reviews. I'm not going to read any off here, but they're all like pretty positive because the week before the episode that we won't name anymore, the Voldemort episode.
Yeah.
They were all kind of in our same camp too of negativity. But bringing this up when you're saying like the parent-teacher council or whatever that said about the marijuana use and the drug jokes, I didn't think of that while watching this. Is this an episode I could have watched with my parents when The Simpsons first aired? When I was 10. Is this an episode that I could have watched with them and understand the reference? I mean, they've done episodes with marijuana or drugs as joke before. The episode with Fish. I just remember that one. With Otto being like, why do they call them fingers? I never see them thing.
Oh, there they go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a neutral episode when it comes to drug use. It doesn't like glamorize it exactly.
No.
But it doesn't make it look bad. It just kind of is a thing that these people do, which I think is actually kind of a healthier way to look at drugs of all stripes because it doesn't demonize it. Because sometimes if you demonize something to a kid so much, they'll be more prone to try it. Maybe being neutral like this is a good way to approach drug use and sex.
You said it all, and I agree with you. There was even that line where they were in the attic and Homer said, hide the drugs. And Bart's like, we don't have any drugs. Bart and Lisa don't give a shit about that.
Right.
And he was smoking asbestos. You're 100% correct. This wasn't showing us how to like get high. This was just showing us pop culture from the 70s, bringing it back, trying to make it relevant. With that, I have nothing else to say. I think you said it for us.
Yes, and that was my parenting minute from a guy who has 0 kids and has no interest in being a parent.
You have like 7 cats. That's pretty much the same thing.
Fair enough, yeah.
You got to control them from smoking the catnip.
Yeah, they can only have 2 joints a day.
Steve, I'm going to rate this episode. Is that all right?
I'll allow it.
All right. Since this was a stoner-heavy episode and I got influenced by this, so I'm going to take some bong hits.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going to do 380 bong hits out of 40 bong hits. Put those numbers together, Steve.
That's 420 bong hits.
Whoa! Oh. All right. That's my rating for the episode. Steve, what's your rating?
I will rate it 30 plus 39 sex moves. So 30 and 39.
So 69?
Yeah. That's a cool number too, right?
It is. If you're doing any character on the video game or you need a new Gmail account, it's either your name 420 or 69 and you're good to go.
Yeah. We should make 489 like the coolest number.
Welcome to the 489th Simpsons podcast, everybody.
Yes, let's change the name again.
We didn't change the name of the podcast.
That's true.
It's still the 138th Simpsons podcast, but it's presented by the Annoyed Grunt Boys. That's us, guys.
That's us. Last week was a trying time for the boys of the Annoyed Grunt, and I too was disheartened and really kind of apprehensive about keeping on going because it was such a difficult episode to watch, the Voldemort episode, that is. But this one was a breeze. I will say that Cheech and Chong never had a big impact on my life. I had a friend who liked it, and that was about it. It's probably a little bit before my time, and I never really got into stoner comedy, but they seemed like they were having fun. I had fun watching it. A lot of good visual gags. The B story is pretty meaningless because Crazy Lady is not crazy for a few hours, and then it's crazy again. That's fine. All in all, it was a good time, and I enjoyed it, and I would recommend you watching it.
You're right. We never talked about the Marge hoarder part, really. But you're right. It was just like wasted space. I think that itself could have been an entire episode, but I feel like they were just like putting in some filler, which they had to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I actually enjoyed all those moments.
Yeah.
So,
even though the plot wasn't great, the actual watching it was very enjoyable. So yeah, it's fine.
It's nice to see a character like Crazy Cat Lady get more of an extended role. She's like the Ant-Man of the Marvel universe. Like, give her some funny things to do, and there you go. Her movies are okay, but yeah. But we love Paul Rudd.
Who doesn't?
Steve, we haven't really played games much on these outros, or as I call them, the wrap-ups. I thought we'd come back and do a fun little segment real quick.
Alrighty.
And that's pitch the episode, but I don't want you to have to think with your noggin.
Good, because that hurts so much.
Here's the thing is, what I really wanted to do was a Simpsons Mad Lib. And I thought this would be a fun thing to do. Let's do a Simpsons Mad Lib on the air. I go to Amazon and type in Simpsons Mad Libs, and it doesn't exist. There's Family Guy Mad Libs. There's
that won't work.
Every other TV show, but there's not a Simpsons Mad Libs.
What in the world?
And that really discouraged me. So then I thought, well, what if there's a lot of AI programs on the internet? And I thought, well, what if we just pitch something to an AI and the AI would tell us the episode maybe?
Okay, I like this.
So I did some research, and there's a website called talktotransformer.com.
Which I was immediately disappointed by because I really wanted to chat with Optimus Prime.
So here's what the website says. It says, see See how a modern neural network completes your text. Type a custom snippet or try one of the examples. It was created by Adam King, and you can follow him at Adam Daniel King on Twitter. And so what it is I will type in a suggestion from Steve, and then from his suggestion, the entire text will appear. It's not like a 20-page thing. It'll be just a paragraph.
Okay.
We're going to pitch an episode. And Steve, do you want me to give you some names, or do you just want to like pitch something?
I'll just pitch like a sentence with some characters.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So I'll type in first. Okay, here we go.
Hans Moleman and Maggie Simpson go to a hot dog stand.
Here's the completion. Steve is saying Hans Moleman and Maggie Simpson go to a hot dog stand. After this is all the AI. Ready?
Ready.
Hans Moleman and Maggie Simpson go to a hot dog stand in front of the school where they work. We have to do this now. It's what's right for us, said the boy, said the girl. The teacher had gone to the school and told other classmates a story he has been telling his students for 30 years. It was a story of a young couple, Mrs. Greenfield and her husband, Mr. Greenfield, who owned the hot dog stand in their village. And as everyone was busy eating their meal, the boy sat down to tell Mrs. Greenfield and Mr. Greenfield, and Mrs. Greenfield told them that this was what was wrong with the world. When they finished their story, they asked for a picture to post so a friend would see them eating their hot dogs.
Wow.
Nothing really new about The Simpsons. It's just fun to see this.
So, Craig, I also typed in the exact same thing.
Did you get something different?
Completely. May I?
Oh, well, what did yours say? I like this.
So I also typed in Hans Moleman and Maggie Simpson go to a hot dog stand, and AI reads as this. A lot of things that are seen in the first episode are very similar to the Simpsons episodes that came earlier in the same season or decades. This includes the appearance of the characters Lisa, Maggie, and Maggie and their hot dogs. They're eating their hot dogs in the background, and the scene where Mr. Burns brings in some dogs she's bought from a hot dog stand is basically the exact same scene that appeared in the Simpsons Bart the King episode, The Simpsons. It was made easier by what happened in the episode Simpsons Bart. The episode's theme song is one of a string of shows called The Simpsons Classics, which includes an episode of The Simpsons called Bart the King, and an episode of The Simpsons Homer the Storyteller, and an episode featuring Lisa Simpson and Homer Simpson, with the two of them singing Wendy and the Witch. In other words, this theme tune is almost exactly an exact match for the song of the same name from the opening of Bart the King, The Simpsons Classics. This is the best part. That's my own editorializing. Maggie and Lisa are having the most fun. Like The Simpsons, the first part of this episode has Maggie and Lisa having fun in it. In the early days of The Simpsons, the show was very liberal with sexual references, and a lot of characters looked very similar too.
What is going on? What's with this AI? All right, I got one here.
Okay.
All right, type this in here and we'll read it.
All right.
Cheech and Chong visit the Simpsons family in Springfield. That's all.
Okay. Cheech and Chong
visit
the Springfield family in Springfield.
Cheech and Chong visit the Simpsons family in Springfield. Famously, the Simpsons will travel down the Simpsons way to visit the Simpsons family in Springfield. A group of Springfield residents consisting of Homer, Lenny, Marge, Lisa, and Bart travel via boat with one another. Person, Krusty, along with Mr. Burns and others, to visit the Simpsons family in Springfield. Krusty is accompanied by his family. The Simpsons leave early in their morning commute because the bus arrives in an hour early than they anticipated. With the bus still in session, the group begins to leave. After the bus arrives at 6:14 a.m., not realizing that it's only a couple of hours before their arrival date in Springfield, Krusty asks Lisa if it's okay because she has the money to buy a present for them, which Lisa agrees to do, and she knows this is their last time in the Springfield family's town and wishes to use it for Christmas. That's Act 1. And then Marge has a meeting with Homer. Marge also gives him a present for Christmas as promised, which he agrees to do. Lisa says that she has the money, but they still have work to do. After talking about this, Marge reveals that it's just because she's on a trip to England. I don't know why. Just put the same sentence in.
All right. That was great, by the way. Cheech and Chong visit the Simpsons family in Springfield. Before going to the Simpsons house to celebrate the Simpsons' 50th anniversary, there, Dougie uses a device to turn them into cats, which he has invented to save his wife. In Bender versus the Comic Book Guy, Homer is sent to school to fix himself up, and in The Big Lebowski, he is sent to see Stan to get a haircut. This episode is directed by Peter Guber and stars Mark Wahlberg, John Krasinski, and Lisa Kudrow. The film is currently slated for release on February 16th, 2012.
Oh my god, we can have too much fun with this. Talk to a transformer.com.
Yeah, that's talk2transformer.com. Check it out.
Other than that, Steve, let's find out what we're watching next week. How about that?
Alrighty. Should we bust out the wheel?
Is your neck all right?
My neck is better.
All right, so you can spin the wheel?
I can spin the wheel.
We're at season 16.
Season
all right.
16. Still here.
Thank God we got the 20.
Oh, yeah,
got
that's
the
right.
22s, right?
That's right. All right, let's find out what episode we are watching.
Episode 19. Here we go.
Alrighty.
It originally aired May 8th, 2005. It's called Thank God It's Doomsday.
Oh.
Google describes this episode as Homer begins to study the rapture and believes he knows when the end times will come.
Ooh.
So he begins warning others in an attempt to secure his place in heaven.
Huh.
Steve, do you have any recollection of this episode? It's 2005. We were probably watching this live back in the day.
Yes, that's probably true, but I don't remember it, although I do see that the Baja Man and Los Lobos appear as themselves.
We know we're in for a treat. Steve, could this episode be similar to our Voldemort episode?
It might.
So we're gonna have to like say, let's watch episode 20 in season 16 after this because we hate it so much.
Maybe we will, but maybe we're wrong.
Well, we'll find out next week, I suppose. Other than that, go ahead and contact us on social medias with the 3 major platforms of the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at 138Simpsons.
And you may email us at 138simpsons@gmail.com.
For this week, I've been half an annoyed grunt boy, Craig.
And I've been half an annoyed grunt boy, Steve.
And remember, keep watching the skis.
Bye.
That untalented twerp Paul Simon